You were never meant to chase. You were never designed to beg, to plead, to lower your worth for attention, validation, or crumbs of recognition. You are the prize. But here's the truth. Life will not treat you as valuable until you do. In this world, you don't receive what you desire. You receive what you believe you are. And if you keep waking up with the energy of lack, of waiting, of hoping someone out there sees your worth, you'll remain unseen. You'll be passed over, not because you aren't enough, but because you're not being enough in your own mind. When you act as if you are the prize, you shift the energetic frequency of your reality. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's not superiority, it's sovereignty. You stop auditioning for people who were never qualified to evaluate you in the first place. You stop explaining yourself because gold doesn't advertise. Diamonds don't beg to be picked. They shine and the world adjusts. This is not about pretending. This is about being. To act as if is to shift your inner self-image so radically that the outer world has no choice but to match it. You begin walking into rooms differently. You speak slower, with more conviction. You detach from outcomes because you know your value is not on the table for negotiation. You no longer search for love, opportunity, or attention. You radiate such wholeness that the right people and blessings magnetize to you. Stop asking, when will they see me? And ask instead, when will I finally see myself? You are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You're simply being invited to return to the knowing of who you really are. The version of you that's already chosen, already respected, already honored, already wanted, already winning, it already exists. But you don't become that version by wishing for it. You become it by acting as if it is already your truth. And when you do that, you don't just attract your desires, you embody them. To act as if you are the prize means you stop negotiating with unworthiness. You stop settling for maybe. You stop being surprised when you win. Because now it's normal. Now it's natural. Now you expect it. Not from ego, but from essence. Remember, reality is always late to the party. It follows you, not the other way around. So don't wait for your circumstances to change so you can feel like the prize. Feel like the prize, and your circumstances will begin to catch up. Close your eyes right now and imagine walking through life as the chosen one, the loved one, the admired one, the one everyone remembers when they leave the room, the one who gets the opportunity, the respect, the love, the yes. You don't chase that life, you assume it, you wear it, you move like it, and the world, it bends in your direction. It all begins within you, long before a person loves you, before an opportunity chooses you, before wealth finds you. There is a silent architect shaping every outcome, every encounter, every twist of your reality. That architect is your self-perception. Your life does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you believe you are. This is the divine secret most never understand. They spend their lives chasing the external, money, validation, relationships, applause, without realizing that these are shadows, not the source. The real power lives within the invisible realm of consciousness, and more specifically, in how you see yourself. If you walk through this world secretly believing you are not enough, no matter how loudly you shout affirmations or how often you chase success, life will mirror your internal lack. You'll attract people who overlook you, jobs that undervalue you, and moments that fall apart just when they seem close. Why? Because the outer world can only echo what the inner world proclaims. This is not a punishment. It is precision. It is law. And it is deeply fair. Life isn't giving you what you deserve. It's giving you what you believe you deserve. If that belief is low, so will be your results. If that belief is powerful, the entire world reorganizes around your worth. So ask yourself, how do you see you? When you wake up in the morning, do you see yourself as someone the universe delights in favoring? Or do you carry the energy of one who always has to prove their value, fight for attention, and earn every drop of love? The truth is, your self-perception forms the blueprint of your life. It's the unspoken command that tells life what to deliver. And it's not based on what you think consciously once in a while. It's based on what you accept habitually and emotionally, deep within the seat of your being. You may tell yourself you're confident, but if you flinch at silence in conversations, if you over-explain your worth, if you crumble when someone disapproves, your true self-perception is still rooted in unworthiness. You may say you want wealth, but if you feel like money is hard to earn, that others are luckier, that you're behind, then that is the vibration you send out. And that is exactly what you receive. Now here's the beauty of this law. Just as your self-perception created your current reality, you can now recreate your life by transforming that self-image. You can step into a new identity, not slowly, not with struggle, but instantly, with a bold internal shift. How? Through imagination, through embodiment, through repetition, through living as if it were already true. Begin by asking, who would I be if I truly believed I was the prize? What would that version of me think as they walked into a room? How would they carry their body? How would they respond to rejection? Not with insecurity, but with assurance that they are still enough, still worthy, still chosen. You must begin to feel like that person before there is any proof in your external world. Why? Because the world will never give you confirmation first. It is always delayed, always secondary, always a reflection. So you must be the one to set the tone. That means when you're treated like you're not enough, you don't collapse. You rise even higher internally. You reaffirm your worth even more, not in anger, not in ego, but in certainty, because you finally remembered your value doesn't come from them, it comes from you. There is an inner image of yourself that you must protect at all costs. This image is your compass, your shield, your magnet. If it is weak, the world will overpower you. If it is strong, the world will bend in your direction. And you don't strengthen this image through outer validation. You strengthen it in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, when doubt is loud, when circumstances haven't yet caught up. In those moments, you say to yourself, I am the chosen one. I am not waiting to be selected. I have already been selected by life itself. This is not delusion. This is creative power. This is the sacred truth the great teachers of consciousness have always pointed to. Change your self-image and your world must change. There's a reason people who feel unworthy keep attracting users, abusers, and betrayers. It's not their fault, but it is their reflection. Life is constantly revealing back to them their own inner story, and unless that story is rewritten, the characters will remain the same. So what's your story? Are you the background character in someone else's life, or are you the protagonist of your own? Start today. Begin seeing yourself differently, not by force, but by decision. Decide that you are worthy of great things. Decide that you are loved even when alone. Decide that you are seen even when no one is applauding. Decide that you are valuable even when no one is buying. Because all creation begins not with proof, but with belief. You don't have to fix your past. You don't have to earn your worth. You don't have to beg life to notice you. You only have to believe in the you that already exists at your highest level, the version of you that's bold, radiant, respected, magnetic. It is real. It's waiting for you to step into it. And here's the wild part. When you become that version, everything you were chasing begins chasing you. People who once ignored you start noticing. Doors that were shut suddenly open. Paths that felt blocked begin to clear. Not because you changed the world, but because you changed your self-perception. That is the true work. That is the real shift. So stop worrying about how the external will unfold. Instead, look inward and ask, what part of me still thinks I'm not enough? Then gently, daily, replace that belief with something truer, stronger, higher. I am worthy now. I am loved now. I am the prize now. Repeat it until it no longer feels like a stretch, until it feels like home. Because the moment your self-perception upgrades, your reality is forced to catch up. There is a vast difference between pretending and embodying. Pretending is fragile, it's hollow, it seeks to convince others. Embodying is powerful, it's magnetic, it convinces reality. When you act as if, you are not putting on a costume. You are not faking it until you make it. You are stepping into the invisible version of yourself that already exists. You are becoming the manifestation, not by hoping for it, not by waiting for permission, but by claiming it with your being. This is the sacred work of consciousness, to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to walk through life not asking for the thing you desire, but being the one who already has it, not knocking on the door with trembling hands, but walking through it because it belongs to you. You don't wait to be chosen, you move like you've been chosen. You don't try to be valuable, you are valuable. You don't act confident to cover fear, you are confidence itself. That is embodiment. So many walk this earth asking life to show them a sign. If I could just get that job, that relationship, that recognition, then I'll believe I'm worthy. But the law is reversed. Life says, believe you are worthy, and everything you desire will flow to you. This is not fantasy, this is law. Your outer world does not create your identity creates your outer world. And what is identity if not the state of being you continuously occupy? Acting as if is the bold spiritual practice of choosing a higher identity and dwelling in it with such faith, such emotional truth that the universe cannot deny it. You are not pretending to be successful, you are entering the state of success, its posture, its tone, its peace. You are not pretending to be confident, you are inhabiting the vibration of one who trusts themselves fully, who walks into a room knowing they are enough, who speaks without apology and listens without fear. You don't need proof to start, you need permission from yourself, and that permission must come now, not later. The longer you wait to feel like the version of yourself you dream of becoming, the longer you delay your miracles. Do you understand? It's not the actions that shape your life, it's the state from which you act. The rich man and the poor man may both perform the same task, but the rich man does it from a place of inner abundance, while the poor man does it from survival. Their energies are different, their outcomes are different, because what they embody, what they believe in that silent space behind their actions is different. So what are you embodying, even when you say nothing? You can speak affirmations all day, but if you walk around tense, guarded, shrinking in rooms, lowering your tone, explaining yourself constantly, you are embodying lack. You are signaling to life that you are not the prize, that you are trying to earn a place, that you don't yet believe your own value. But when you shift, truly shift, something extraordinary happens. You walk slower, not from laziness, but from certainty. You stop rushing, not because you don't care, but because you know everything is already aligning. You let go of desperate energy, not because you gave up, but because you finally remembered who you are. This is embodiment. It's when you let the reality within you be so much more real than the one outside of you. When your inner image of being chosen, powerful, radiant, magnetic becomes your dominant mood, your natural energy, your resting state. Others will call it confidence. Some will call it arrogance, but it's neither. It's remembrance. It's the moment your soul takes the throne again after being dethroned by years of doubt, fear, and trying to fit in. You don't wait to be rich to feel secure. You feel secure now. You don't wait to be loved to feel beautiful. You feel beautiful now. You don't wait for recognition to feel seen. You see yourself now. Because embodiment always comes before evidence. The mistake many make is trying to act like the prize for a day, a week, or a moment, and then retreating when the world doesn't respond right away. But the world is not reacting to your surface actions. It's reacting to your deep identity, your consistent emotional tone, your dominant state of consciousness. So if you embody the prize for a moment but collapse into insecurity soon after, the message becomes mixed. The signal weakens, and life doesn't know what to deliver, so it gives you what's most consistent, your old self-image. But when you sustain the new state, when you walk in it not for applause, but because it is who you now are, when you return to it again and again, every time fear knocks on the door, then you become unstoppable. You become undeniable. You become a living invitation for miracles. And people feel it. They may not know what changed, but they'll say, you look different, sound different, move differently. They won't understand that you've stopped chasing and started embodying. They'll feel your energy shift. They'll feel the inner knowing in your presence, and they'll treat you accordingly. Because energy doesn't lie. The world doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. So if you've been wondering why certain patterns keep repeating, if you've been frustrated that life keeps handing you less than you asked for, it's time to stop tweaking the external. It's time to become the one who has it. Now, close your eyes. Drop into the identity of your highest self. Ask, how does the one who already has this feel? Feel it, hold it, live from it, then act, speak, move, decide. Not from lack, not from fear, but from the embodied truth. I already am. This is not pretending. This is alignment. This is power. This is acting as if, until as if becomes your actual reality. And it will, because nothing in the world is more powerful than a soul that remembers what it already is and chooses to live like it. There is an unseen intelligence at work in the universe. It responds not to effort, not to struggle, and not even to your deepest desires, but to your self-concept. The way you see yourself, the way you silently feel about your own worth, becomes the instruction manual life follows to organize circumstances, people, and outcomes around you. This is the sacred law. The inner image rules the outer reflection. If you truly want to change your life, you must begin not by changing what you do, but by changing who you believe you are. When you see yourself as the prize, everything changes. Not because the world suddenly becomes better or more giving, but because your energy shifts, and your energy is the command center of your life. You no longer speak from desperation. You no longer act from a place of needing approval. You no longer engage in relationships, business, or friendships from a sense of inferiority. You enter every room with the quiet knowing that your presence is the gift. Not because you're arrogant, but because you finally see yourself through the eyes of truth rather than trauma, through spirit rather than fear, through wholeness rather than brokenness. And the moment you begin to live from that posture, when you feel internally that you are valuable, radiant, deeply worthy, the world mirrors it back to you. Opportunities you once had to chase now come to you without effort. People who once overlooked you begin to seek you out. Conversations shift, doors open. Respect is offered before you even ask for it. Not because the people around you have changed, but because your energetic state has elevated, and the world has no choice but to respond accordingly. The recalibration of life happens subtly but powerfully. When you believe you are the prize, you emit a different frequency, one that says, I do not need to be chosen because I have already chosen myself. This self-selection is everything. It's the invisible crown you wear. It's the unspoken authority that walks ahead of you and rearranges reality to accommodate your belief. Those who do not value themselves continue to battle for scraps, not realizing they are kings and queens in palaces they have not yet entered because they still think like beggars. Seeing yourself as the prize means you no longer entertain situations that diminish your light. You stop over-explaining your worth. You stop trying to be everything for everyone. You stop chasing people, platforms, or validation. You begin to trust that what is meant for you will not need to be forced, and more importantly, that you do not need to shrink to be accepted. You are no longer impressed by crumbs when you remember you are the banquet. This shift in perception doesn't come from ego, it comes from awakening. It is the soul remembering its divinity. It is the mind detoxing from years of societal programming that taught you to earn love, fight for attention, and measure yourself by other people's reactions. The truth is, no one will ever consistently see your worth if you don't see it first. Their opinion of you is often just a reflection of the value you place on yourself. When you lift that internal value, they begin to see you through new eyes, not because they're wiser, but because you've become louder energetically. When you see yourself as the prize, you don't have to prove it, you simply are. The way you walk, the way you speak, the decisions you make, the boundaries you hold, all of it becomes a declaration of self-worth. Even your silence becomes powerful. Even your presence speaks. Even your absence leaves a mark. The universe notices because the vibration you carry is now bold, certain, and grounded. People who carry this energy, this sense of being the prize, do not need to boast or flaunt. They don't have to convince anyone. Why? Because real power is silent. Real value doesn't chase, it attracts. Think of gold. It doesn't run after buyers. It simply exists in its worth and people come to it. The same is true for you when you operate from a consciousness that already knows, I am enough, I am valuable, I bring meaning wherever I go. And let's be honest, When you don't see yourself this way, the world treats you accordingly. It's not cruelty, it's reflection. If you treat yourself as optional, people will too. If you treat your dreams as distant, life will keep them out of reach. But if you stand rooted in a deep, unwavering sense of worth, everything begins to move around you with respect. Even your circumstances, those stubborn, unchanging patterns, begin to shift, not because you manipulated them, but because the energetic field you emit now demands alignment. This is the deeper meaning of acting as if. It is not a game of make-believe, it is a return to original truth. It is the soul reactivating the knowing that has always lived underneath fear and conditioning. You are the prize, not because of what you've done, not because of what you've achieved, but because you exist. That is the root of all spiritual power. Understanding that your value is innate, not earned. The more you internalize that, the more life will confirm it back to you. Remember, the world does not change until you do, not on the surface, but at the level of self-concept. You can spend your whole life trying to fix the mirror, but until you change the face that's looking into it, nothing will change. So if you're still wondering why life feels stuck, ask yourself, do I see myself as the prize? Not in theory, but in feeling? Do you walk through life as one who is worthy of the best, or as someone hoping to be picked? When you begin to see yourself as chosen, the world starts choosing you. When you believe you are a blessing, blessings flow. When you walk like the prize, talk like the prize, live like the prize, the universe adjusts everything to meet you at that frequency. The delay ends, the resistance fades, because the message is clear now. You've remembered, you've returned, you've reclaimed your crown. There is a sacred law that governs all creation. It is not taught in schools nor shouted by the world, yet it is quietly operating behind every event, every opportunity, every connection, and every moment of your life. That law is this: you do not attract what you chase, you attract what you are. And until you shift from chasing your desires to being the embodiment of them, your reality will always feel just out of reach. The act of chasing carries within it a vibration of separation. It says, "It is not mine yet." It broadcasts lack. It's filled with striving, yearning, reaching, but always from a place of inner distance. When you chase love, you confess you don't yet believe you are worthy of it. When you chase money, you vibrate the fear that you are still far from abundance. When you chase opportunities, you declare you are waiting for approval from something outside of you. And life listens, life responds, not to your wish, but to your state. You must understand, the universe does not respond to pleading, it responds to being. You can pray with all your heart, you can visualize daily, you can journal, affirm, fast, cry, but if you still feel on the inside that you are not yet the one who has, then you will remain the one who hopes. And hope, as beautiful as it may be, is not embodiment. Hope sees a future possibility. Embodiment sees a present reality. To shift into being is to enter the creative zone of miracles. It is when you stop trying to make life happen and begin to remember that it already has. That you are not the beggar. You are not the rejected. You are not the one-day person. You are now. You are chosen now. You are abundant now. You are desired now. But you must feel it, not once, not on Sundays, not during meditation only, but as a steady internal state. People often say, I'm doing everything. Why isn't it working? But the better question is, what am I being every day? Are you being joy, or are you just waiting for something to give you permission to feel it? Are you being love, or are you still searching for someone else to grant it to you? Are you being wealth, success, radiance, magnetism? Or are you still hoping the world will sprinkle those things onto you before you give yourself the right to live them? Here lies the truth. Nothing comes to you because you chase it. Everything comes to you because you match it. And matching is not an intellectual activity. It's an energetic reality. It happens beneath the words, beneath the actions, beneath the surface. It happens in the silent moments when no one is watching. It happens in the way you feel when you're alone. That feeling, that tone, is what creates your magnetic field. You can chase a dream for 10 years and still not receive it, not because you're not worthy, but because the chasing reinforces that you're not yet equal to it in your own mind. But you can shift into being that version of yourself in a single week, in a single day, and watch how quickly the universe begins to reorganize in your favor. Because when you become the one who already has it, you stop reaching for it. And when you stop reaching, it starts reaching for you. Look around at nature. Does the flower chase the bee? No. It blooms, it becomes, it radiates its color and scent. And in that radiant being, the bee is drawn, not out of effort, but because attraction is natural to embodiment. In the same way, you must bloom. Not run, not strive, not beg, but bloom. Into the version of you that already knows, I am the magnet, I do not hunt, I draw in. And yet, many still don't believe this. They are addicted to effort, conditioned to believe that everything worthwhile must be chased, must be fought for, must be earned through struggle and sacrifice. But that is the programming of the world, not the truth of the Spirit. The Spirit knows that being is the highest form of doing, that vibration is the foundation of all manifestation, that when you dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, reality has no option but to comply. The people who chase are always tired. Their souls are weary, their minds anxious, their hearts exhausted, not because they lack discipline, but because they are fighting upstream. They are trying to harvest fruit from a field they have not yet planted within. And so they keep going in circles, chasing what was never meant to be pursued, but received through alignment, not exertion. The moment you say, I already am, you enter the secret doorway. The hidden passage of reality begins to bend. You no longer walk with the heaviness of one who is trying to be seen. You are seen. You don't seek validation. You are validation. You don't look for love. You are love. And because of that, love finds you, sees you, wants you, wealth wants you, peace wants you, not because you begged, but because your vibration became their home. Think about a person you know who never seems to chase anyone, yet everyone chases them. There's a presence about them, a stillness, a certainty. It's not about their appearance or status, it's about their energy. They walk through the world with a knowing that says, I do not need to run after anything, because I carry the thing others are looking for. That's not arrogance, that's resonance. That's what being the prize feels like. And you can cultivate this too. It starts with surrender. You must surrender the belief that you need to hustle for your worth. You must lay down the idea that the more you do, the more you'll receive. And instead, rise into the realization that your state of being is what magnetizes everything. So how do you be what you're not yet experiencing? You begin in the unseen. You begin in imagination. You sit with the version of yourself that already lives the life you desire. You feel their posture, their ease, their knowing. You walk like them. You speak like them. You respond like them. And you do it not to pretend, but to align, not to convince, but to remember, because they are not a fantasy. They are you in a higher state. You must remember that all reality is simply vibration solidified. If you vibrate at the level of lack, you will continue to see lack. If you vibrate at the level of abundance, even before it arrives, you become a channel for it. Life cannot help but respond. It is a servant to your state. It is obedient to your embodiment. It bows to the one who knows. This is why you felt resistance when chasing, because chasing declares, I don't have it yet. It creates tension. It creates delay. It screams to the universe that your desire is far away, and the universe listens. But when you drop into being, you relax. You trust. You no longer check your progress like a child checks the window for a late parent. You stop measuring the distance between where you are and where you want to be, because you now realize they are the same place. The bridge is within you. The shortcut is identity. What you embody, you eventually hold in your hands. And what you chase, you push further away with every grasp. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you haven't yet become the vessel for it. You cannot receive what you still doubt you deserve. You cannot attract what you still believe is outside of you. You cannot call in miracles while feeling unworthy of the magic. So today, stop chasing. Pause, breathe. Ask yourself, who must I be to receive what I seek? Then become that version, not later, not tomorrow, but now. Walk differently, think differently, dress, speak, move, respond, not from your current identity, but from your next level self. And do it not once, but again and again until it becomes your nature. Because the secret is this: your next level is not a goal, it's a frequency. You don't climb to it, you tune into it. And when you do, the world begins to shift, not because it changed, but because you did. And once you become it, you no longer need to chase it. It chases you. There is a hidden contradiction woven into the minds of those who desire transformation. They long for something to manifest, yet cling to it so tightly that they suffocate the very process required to bring it to life. They think obsession is power. They think constant focus guarantees results. They believe that monitoring, controlling, and tracking every step toward their desire will somehow make it arrive faster. But this misunderstanding is the very energy that delays their blessing. The truth is simpler and more liberating. The moment you release the outcome, you unlock the door to your true spiritual power. Detachment is not the absence of desire. It is not apathy. It is not giving up. Rather, detachment is the highest form of faith. It is the silent and unwavering confidence that what is yours will come, not because you're forcing it, but because you have become the version of yourself who already has it. You no longer chase. You no longer beg. You no longer doubt. Instead, you live, breathe, and walk in the frequency of I already am. You live from the end, not toward it. When you are attached, your energy screams lack. It whispers fear. It radiates a deep, hidden belief that says, I'm not sure this will come unless I constantly worry about it, talk about it, and try to control every step. But the universe does not respond to worry. It responds to embodiment. And when you are truly embodying the version of yourself who already has what you desire, you no longer need to obsess. You are no longer checking the window like a child waiting for someone who might not show. You trust the arrival. You prepare the table. You dress for the celebration. You live in the now as if the later has already happened. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. You still intend. You still visualize. You still affirm. But you do not micromanage divine timing. You understand that the path may twist and bend, but the destination is already secured. You no longer ask when, because when becomes irrelevant in the face of certainty. You know it is done, and in knowing it is done, your energy becomes magnetic, peaceful, and deeply powerful. Most people don't realize that their constant checking, measuring, and doubting is a form of spiritual interference. They are like farmers who plant a seed and then dig it up every day to see if it's growing. They call it monitoring progress, but in truth, they are disturbing the roots. They are sending the signal, I don't trust the process. And life mirrors that signal back to them, creating delay, frustration, and disappointment. But when you detach, something incredible happens. You become the fertile ground in which all things grow effortlessly. Your detachment is not coldness, it is warmth wrapped in trust. You're no longer trying to force a flower to bloom faster. You're basking in the knowing that the seed is already transforming beneath the surface, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. This invisible certainty is what aligns you with the miracle. Power does not come from force, it comes from flow. And flow is only accessible when you let go of the illusion that you need to control every outcome. The ego clings, the soul releases, the ego fears delay. The soul understands that delay is sometimes divine orchestration. The ego wants visible proof. The soul knows that the invisible shapes the visible. When you detach, you're no longer operating from ego, you're operating from essence. There is also a profound dignity in detachment. When you no longer chase what is meant to be yours, you honor your inner royalty. You are no longer the one knocking on locked doors. You are the one who trusts that the door will open at the right time. You're not performing for acceptance. You are resting in your own worth. That rest, that ease, becomes a signal to the universe. I already am. I don't need to fight for this. I've already received it in spirit. And the universe, in response, begins to match your stillness with movement. It meets your surrender with acceleration. It rewards your inner peace with outer alignment. Because the moment you stop needing the outcome to complete you, you become whole. And wholeness is the most attractive force in existence. Let's speak plainly. When you need something too much, you become desperate. Desperation clouds your decisions. It makes you tolerate things you shouldn't. It leads you into false paths and makes you betray your inner knowing. It causes you to cling to people, opportunities, or situations that were never meant to be permanent just because you fear letting go. But detachment allows you to be guided, not by fear, but by intuition. It helps you recognize what flows and what forces. It clarifies your path. Detachment is also where peace lives. While attachment binds you to anxiety, detachment invites calm. You no longer wake up with the panic of, is it happening yet? Instead, you wake up with quiet assurance, it's already mine. Today, I simply align with it. You begin to enjoy your life again. You stop postponing happiness until the manifestation appears. You realize that the joy you allow yourself to feel now is the bridge to everything you've asked for. And if we look deeply enough, we'll see that every attachment is rooted in a lie. The lie says, if I don't get this, I won't be enough. But that's never true. You are already enough. You are already complete. You don't need the partner, the job, the money, the title to become worthy. You are worthy now. When you know this, not just intellectually, but emotionally, you will release your grip on the outcome. You'll stop clutching to what hasn't arrived, and you'll start living in the state where it already has. From this place, you move differently. You speak from a quiet authority. You stop justifying your desires. You stop convincing others. You stop second-guessing your timing. You trust your intuition more. You release people who no longer serve your growth. You say no without guilt. You say yes without fear. You stop asking the world for signs and become the sign. This is the real power of detachment. It returns you to yourself. It frees you from the illusion that your life is defined by what happens outside. It reminds you that you are the root, not the branches, that your inner state creates your outer results, and that by mastering your vibration, your energy, your emotional home, you can shape reality with elegance, not exhaustion. Imagine for a moment what your life would look like if you let go of trying to control it. If you truly trusted that the people who are meant for you will find you, that the doors meant to open will swing wide, that you don't have to beg, push, or prove, that your worth is not measured by outcomes but by presence, that your value is not validated by speed but by surrender. Can you feel that freedom? Can you feel the weight lifting? Because that's what detachment brings, relief. You're no longer a slave to the result. You're no longer a prisoner to time. You're no longer postponing your joy. You're no longer defining your self-worth by what shows up in the next 30 days. You're resting in the divine rhythm that always moves on time, even when it looks delayed to the human eye. The truth is, what you want already exists. It's already done in the spiritual dimension. It's already aligned with your higher self. But your work is not to control its arrival. It's to become the person who no longer needs it to arrive in order to feel whole. And in that moment of not needing, you shift into receiving. You stop grabbing and you start receiving. You stop panicking and you start preparing. You stop wishing and you start embodying. And that subtle shift from clinging to allowing activates a supernatural momentum in your life. You begin to notice small confirmations. A person mentions something connected to your dream. A door you forgot about opens. A message arrives, unexpected yet perfect. Not because you chased it, but because you stopped needing to. This is the paradox of spiritual manifestation. The more you need something, the more you delay it. The more you release it, the more quickly it arrives. Not because letting go makes it appear faster, but because letting go brings you into harmony with the version of yourself that already has it. So detach, not with bitterness, but with trust. Not with apathy, but with expectancy. Not with resistance, but with reverence. Say to life, I have made my request. I have stepped into the vibration. I now release all need and dwell in the joy of knowing it is done. And when you do, you'll find something far greater than what you asked for. You'll find your peace, your power, and your presence. And from that place, anything is possible. The greatest shift in your life will not come from a new strategy, a new habit, or a new goal. It will come from the emergence of a new self-image, a version of you who already lives the life you desire. But here is the sacred key that many miss. This self-image cannot be a distant ideal. It cannot feel like a fantasy, a costume, or a role you're trying to play. It must feel normal, because only when it feels normal does it become natural, and only what is natural for you becomes permanent. So many people sabotage their manifestations, not because they don't visualize or affirm, but because they still feel like outsiders to the life they claim to want. They imagine success, but feel like imposters. They say they want love, but feel unworthy in silence. They picture wealth, but feel guilty receiving. Their inner self-image is still stuck in an old identity, a smaller, humbler, more fearful self. And as long as that inner picture remains unchanged, nothing outside can permanently shift. You see, your reality does not change when you want something new. It changes when you become someone to whom that new reality feels familiar. Not special, not rare, familiar. The version of you that lives in overflow, peace, confidence, abundance, beauty, that version doesn't wake up surprised every morning. That version isn't shocked when doors open. That version doesn't feel like they're getting lucky. They simply are. This is what it means to normalize your vision, not to diminish it, but to internalize it. To stop seeing it as some magical event that may or may not come, and to start walking in it as your baseline reality. You cannot walk like a stranger in the land of your desire and expect the land to recognize you. You must walk like a citizen, like you belong, like this is your home. When your new self-image feels normal, you stop performing, you stop trying to force it, you stop checking the mirror, second-guessing your decisions, or wondering what people think. You're not pretending anymore. You're not acting like someone who hopes they can keep it together. You're being. There's no effort in being. There's no tension in being. It is fluid. It is natural. It is quiet, strong, and powerful. The mistake most people make is treating their vision like a rare exception rather than a natural extension of who they are. They say things like, "I can't believe this is happening to me," or "I never thought I'd be this successful." And while that may feel innocent, it reflects the truth of how foreign their desire still feels to them. And what is foreign eventually fades. What is natural stays. So the work becomes this. You must saturate your inner world with the new image of yourself until it feels more real than your past. You must dwell in that state until it becomes your emotional home. This is not about wishful thinking. This is about rehearsing reality internally until your nervous system adjusts, until your mind stops rejecting it, until your body stops resisting it, until you stop questioning it. And once that happens, the world catches up, because your outer life is just a reflection of your dominant inner concept. Imagine a person who has always seen themselves as broke. They may win the lottery, they may land a high-paying job, they may even come into sudden inheritance. But if their self-image still identifies with lack, they will sabotage it. They will overspend, overgive, attract users, or feel guilty keeping money. Why? Because the wealth doesn't match the self-image. And what doesn't match internally cannot be sustained externally. Likewise, imagine a person who grew up rejected, unloved, emotionally abandoned. They may attract someone healthy, kind, and devoted, but if their self-image still sees themselves as unworthy of consistent love, they will push it away. They'll self-sabotage. They'll feel anxious, insecure, paranoid. Not because the relationship isn't good, but because the experience of being wanted doesn't feel normal. And what doesn't feel normal will eventually feel wrong, even if it's right. This is why so many people get what they want and lose it. The goal isn't just to manifest the thing, it's to become the person to whom the thing naturally belongs. If you can do that, you won't have to hold on to your desire with effort. It will hold on to you, because it will now live in your identity, not just your wish list. To make your new self-image feel normal, you must immerse yourself in the energy of already worthy, already chosen, already successful. You must feed your mind with thoughts, feelings, and imaginations that reflect your new reality, not occasionally, but daily. You must speak from your new identity, think from it, feel from it, and you must do this even when nothing has changed outside, especially then. Because the self-image is formed not through the world's confirmation, but through your own inner repetition. You rehearse it until it becomes your dominant emotional tone. You wear it internally until your subconscious accepts it as law. That is the turning point, the moment when you are no longer faking confidence, but radiating it, no longer trying to be loved, but expecting it, no longer hoping for success, but living from it. The mind is deeply obedient. It may resist at first. It may try to pull you back into old emotional patterns. But if you remain firm, if you refuse to entertain the old image, if you persist in your new state, the mind will eventually submit. And when it does, your body follows. Your decisions align. Your actions reflect a new truth. And then, without forcing anything, your reality begins to mirror your internal shift. Think about this. When something is normal for you, you don't doubt it. You don't hesitate. You don't panic when it arrives. You don't treat it like a fragile miracle. You walk in it, you hold it, you expect it. That's the goal, that your new life becomes your new normal. If wealth still feels extraordinary, you will continue to experience it only in temporary bursts. If being respected feels foreign, you will keep encountering disrespect and over-explaining your worth. If peace feels like a vacation instead of your emotional home, chaos will always find its way back. But when you teach your mind that abundance, love, ease, and favor are your standard, they stop being a reward and start becoming your rhythm. And how do you make this shift? Through emotional practice, through imagination, through embodiment. You must spend more time being the future version of yourself in the unseen world than you do reacting to the current version in the seen world. You must withdraw from the opinions of others and anchor yourself in the quiet knowing, this is who I am now. Yes, it will feel strange at first. You may feel resistance. Doubt may try to creep in. Old memories may surface. But that's all part of the death of the old self-image. Let it die. Let the old identity crumble. Let the version of you that survived on scarcity and self-doubt fade away. You are not betraying who you were. You are upgrading who you are. And that version of you, the new, aligned, radiant version, needs your full devotion. Do not treat your new self-image like a costume you wear around certain people or in certain moments. It must be your skin. It must be your signature. It must be so deeply felt that even in the face of contradiction, you hold the pose. When nothing in your external world supports the vision, you stand anyway. You speak anyway, you walk anyway, because you know the internal always precedes the external. Eventually, your outer life has no choice but to adjust, because what feels normal for you on the inside becomes natural for you on the outside. You are always manifesting from the version of yourself you are most loyal to. Choose wisely. If you are more loyal to your wounded self than your winning self, life will reflect the wound. But if you begin to show up, speak, and decide from your healed, elevated self, even before the results show up, you become a match to miracles. The inner image is the code. The world is the screen. Change the code and the screen must follow. Not instantly, not always visibly at first, but inevitably. So close your eyes. Feel the new you. See how they walk, breathe, speak. Make it so real in your inner world that the outer world no longer has power over you. Let this new image be so rooted in you that anything that contradicts it feels strange, because that is the shift, when what once felt like a dream now feels like home. This is the essence of real transformation, and this is where you become unstoppable. If you want to understand the condition of your life, you need only look within. Your world, your relationships, finances, health, and even the way strangers treat you is not a collection of random events. It is not the product of chance, circumstance, or even hard work alone. It is the mirror of your most persistent beliefs about yourself. You do not get what you want. You get what you are, and what you are is defined by what you consistently believe about who you are. This is the truth most people spend their entire lives overlooking. They try to change jobs, change cities, change partners, change appearance, change routines, but they do not change their identity. They do not challenge the deep, quiet beliefs that run like invisible software beneath every action, reaction, and result in their lives. So the patterns repeat, the faces may change, the years may pass, but the story remains the same. Because until you rewrite your beliefs, your life cannot tell a new story. Every belief you hold about yourself becomes a command to your subconscious mind. It becomes an instruction to the universe. And not just the beliefs you say out loud or write in a journal once a month. It's the ones you rehearse emotionally, the ones you return to daily, the ones you feel when you're quiet, when no one is watching, when you think no one can hear your inner dialogue. That's where your life is truly shaped, not in your goals, but in your self-concept. If you consistently believe that people don't see you, your experience will reflect invisibility. You will be overlooked, talked over, passed by. Not because you are unworthy, but because you're unconsciously embodying that belief. You'll enter rooms expecting rejection, and you'll subconsciously behave in ways that affirm it. Your energy will vibrate, I don't matter. And reality, being a perfect mirror, will reflect that vibration back. But when you shift that belief, when you begin to walk in the knowing, I am seen, I am heard, I am respected, I am chosen, you will notice a change in how people treat you. Not because they've changed, but because you have. The way you carry yourself, the tone of your voice, your eye contact, your energy, all of it becomes a new language that tells the world how to treat you, and the world listens. This is why some people seem to attract love easily, while others feel invisible. Why some create wealth with grace, while others toil without breakthrough. Why some are trusted, while others must fight to prove themselves. It's not luck, it's not background, it's not even effort, it's belief. And belief, once consistent, becomes identity, and identity becomes your reality. You were born with the power to shape your world, not by changing others, not by rearranging external conditions, but by selecting a new inner truth and holding to it so consistently, so faithfully, that it begins to rewrite your destiny. Because the law is clear, as within, so without. Your life bends around your self-image. It expands or contracts according to what you believe you deserve. If you believe you are always left behind, you will live in delay. If you believe you are loved only when you perform, you will attract conditional love. If you believe wealth is difficult, your finances will reflect struggle. But if you begin to believe that you are favored, guided, worthy, and magnetic, you will find life responding with ease, alignment, and unexpected blessings. The challenge is that many of these beliefs were not consciously chosen. They were inherited from parents, culture, religion, school, trauma. You may have grown up in a home where scarcity was the only language spoken, or where affection was given only when you achieved, or where your voice was not honored. And now, without realizing it, you carry these beliefs like sacred laws, never questioning their origin, yet building your entire life around them. But the miracle is this: no belief is permanent. Beliefs are not facts. They are agreements, and you can renegotiate them. You can dissolve the lies. You can adopt a new inner truth. You can say, this no longer serves me. I choose again. And in that moment of choosing, a new reality begins to take form. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual physics. Your inner world is the blueprint. Your outer world is the construction site. If the blueprint is flawed, if it says, I am unlovable, I am always broke, no one stays, the building will match. But if the blueprint says, I am divinely loved, I am abundance itself, I am chosen always, then the structure of your life must eventually shift to reflect it. Consistency is the key. You cannot affirm abundance once, then return to thoughts of struggle and expect a miracle. You cannot declare self-worth in the morning, then apologize for your existence all day and expect people to respect you. The subconscious mind is trained through repetition, not of words, but of states. You must consistently become the person you are intending to be, not just when it feels good, especially when it doesn't. This is the refining fire of transformation, holding to the new belief when the old reality still screams for your attention. When the bank account is low, but you say, I am wealthy. When you feel unloved, but you declare, I am deeply desired. When the door closes, but you whisper, I am guided to something better. That is faith, that is alignment, that is creation. Eventually, the old reality begins to lose its grip. It fades, not overnight, but certainly, because reality has no choice. It must reflect the dominant image held within you. It is not a matter of if, it is only a matter of when. And yes, this process requires courage. To believe something new when the evidence doesn't support it. To walk in a truth you've never seen modeled. To carry the weight of a new identity while the old one still calls to you. But every step you take in faith dissolves another brick of the past. Every act of consistency builds a new foundation, until one day you look around and the world matches the version of you you once believed in secret. It is not the loudest thought that shapes your world. It is the most rehearsed, the one you visit most, the one you return to in moments of silence. That is the belief with power. That is the self-concept that sculpts your days. So choose your rehearsals wisely. Choose thoughts that honor your future, not your fears. Speak about yourself as someone already free, not still bound. See yourself not as someone trying to arrive, but someone who already is. You will know the shift has occurred when what once felt like fantasy now feels like fact. When you no longer need to convince yourself, when peace replaces effort, when gratitude becomes your baseline, when you stop trying to make it happen and start realizing it already is. That is alignment, that is embodiment, and that is when reality moves, not slowly, but with sudden divine acceleration. This is why it's never about changing the world, it's about changing you. Because once you do, the world is required to adjust. It is law, not superstition, not mystery. Law. Life becomes the photograph of your inner film. Change the film, and the picture cannot stay the same. So begin today, not by doing more, but by believing differently. Select one new truth about yourself. Perhaps, I am always supported, or my presence is powerful, or everything I touch prospers. Feel it. Sit with it, repeat it, not like a chant but like a declaration, not like a hope but like a home. Let it become your emotional address. Watch how the world begins to shift. Watch how people respond to you. Watch how opportunities start opening, not because life became easier, but because you became truer. You stopped living from a wounded image and started living from your highest self. And that version of you was never chasing, only choosing. In the end, you are always creating, with every breath, every word, every mood. The only question is, are you creating from the old story or the new one? Because reality will always reflect what you consistently believe about yourself. And when that belief is rooted in love, power, and divine identity, there is nothing you cannot experience. And now, having walked through the inner terrain of self-image, embodiment, identity, detachment, and spiritual alignment, we return to the center of it all, the quiet, unshakable realization that you are and have always been the prize. This truth is not something you discover one day, like a buried treasure awaiting beneath the sands of time. No, this truth has been etched into your being from the beginning, long before the world told you to doubt it, long before comparison clouded your eyes, long before rejection cracked the mirror of your self-concept. Beneath every version of you that begged, chased, performed, or waited, this truth sat still, waiting, watching, whispering. It whispered in moments of courage, in moments where you stood your ground without explanation, in moments where you loved yourself enough to walk away, in the tears that cleansed your soul after another door closed. It spoke in the stillness, even when you didn't listen. And now it asks for more than acknowledgement. It asks for embodiment. It asks for a decision. You are not here to earn your worth. You are not here to prove your value. You are not here to audition for a place in someone else's dream. You are here to remember who you are and then to become it unapologetically, without delay. Your reality, yes, the one you are living right now, is not a sentence. It is a reflection. It is the mirror image of the thoughts, emotions, and beliefs you have most consistently nurtured. the patterns you have repeated without realizing, the truths you have silently agreed to, the roles you have played in other people's stories because you forgot that you are the author of your own. But once you know this, once it truly settles into the marrow of your awareness, you can never unknow it. You cannot unfeel the moment you see yourself clearly, not through the lens of lack, but through the eyes of the divine. And in that clarity, something sacred begins to unfold. The veil lifts, the striving ends, and what begins is the purest form of power, inner knowing. Inner knowing doesn't require a loud voice. It doesn't beg for recognition. It doesn't chase, demand, or defend. It moves like still water, quiet, unwavering, present. It is the power of the one who walks into a room and needs no introduction. The power of the one who can sit in silence and still be felt. The power of the one who no longer fights to be chosen because they've already chosen themselves. That is what happens when you act as if you are the prize. You are no longer ruled by outcomes. You are no longer waiting for signs. You no longer seek validation from eyes that cannot see you. You live from the inside out. You create from your center. You walk in full alignment with the version of yourself who no longer needs to become anything because you already are everything. And yes, the world may test this knowing. People may misunderstand it. Some may walk away. Opportunities may be delayed. But the one who is anchored in their worth is never moved by temporary storms, because they know what is theirs cannot miss them, what is aligned cannot avoid them. What they embody must eventually appear, not by force, but by law. Look back for a moment at the beliefs you used to hold, the version of you that questioned everything, that needed proof before action, that feared rejection and doubted their reflection. Can you see how that version was simply a shadow, formed by the opinions of others, shaped by wounds that were never yours to carry? And now, look at who you are becoming. Look at the posture you're reclaiming. Look at the vision you're aligning with, not with effort, but with intention, not with fear, but with conviction, not with noise, but with presence. You're no longer the one who runs. You're the one who receives. You're no longer reaching. You're resonating. You're not faking it. You're feeling it. Not because the world told you it's time, but because your soul knows it always was. This speech began with a simple idea: act as if you are the prize. But now you see it is not merely an idea, it is a call. A call to shift your center of gravity, a call to exit the orbit of fear and enter the stillness of truth. A call to embody what you used to chase, to breathe in the energy of already, to speak with the confidence of alignment, to move like the answer, not the question. You've learned now that self-perception creates reality, that the world doesn't treat you as you wish to be treated, but as you believe yourself to be. And that belief, if consistently nurtured, can move mountains. You've learned that acting as if is not pretending, but embodying, a spiritual practice of becoming before the world confirms. You've seen that the moment you see yourself as the prize, the world recalibrates in response. The chase ends, the magnetism begins. You've discovered the sacred paradox that you attract not through pursuit, but through being. And that detachment from the outcome is not indifference, but deep trust, the trust that your vibration has already summoned your desire. You've realized that until your new self-image feels normal, it can never feel natural, that what is unfamiliar cannot be sustained, and what is rehearsed internally becomes the foundation of all change. And most importantly, you now know that reality is not arbitrary. It reflects the beliefs you consistently hold about yourself. It is not judging you, it is mirroring you. So what happens now? Now you rise, not with noise but with stillness, not with panic but with poise. You rise as the one who no longer waits for doors, you walk through them. You rise as the one who no longer explains your worth, you express it. You rise as the one who no longer hopes for favor, you live in it. And let no one convince you otherwise. Let no past version of yourself return to claim you. Let no former wound redefine you. You have walked too far in darkness to question the light. You have peeled back too many layers to hide again. You have seen too much, felt too deeply, endured too long to forget who you truly are. The prize is not out there, it is in you. It has always been. It was in you when they rejected you. It was in you when you doubted yourself. It was in you when the world overlooked you. And it is in you now, stronger, louder, brighter. So act like it, not just once, not just in public, not just when people are watching, but in your quiet choices, in your morning thoughts, in the way you speak to yourself, in how you show up when nothing external is affirming you, in how you trust when all logic says to fear. Let your life be the proof of your inner decision. Let your reality catch up to the self-image you've now claimed. Let others wonder how you moved so quickly, rose so suddenly, transformed so gracefully. You won't need to explain. Your energy will speak for you. Your presence will announce what your words cannot, and your peace will confirm what your actions already proved, that you became the prize the moment you remembered you were. So go, carry this truth like a mantle. Walk like the miracle already happened. Speak like the outcome is already yours. Decide like the next level is already home. Let the old self fall away, not with fear, but with gratitude. It got you this far. Now it's time for you to step into the version of yourself who was waiting all along. And when you forget, and yes, you will forget, return here. Read these words again. Sit with your breath. Let the old noise fade. And remember, you are not becoming the prize. You already are. Now walk like it. Close your eyes and feel the weight of this moment. You did not stumble here by accident. You were led, gently, deliberately, by the unseen hand of your own imagination. The universe has been waiting patiently, lovingly, for you to awaken to the truth that has always been nestled within you. This very instant is sacred not because it is different from any other, but because you are finally aware. You see, everything around you is a mirror. What you call reality is simply the outer echo of your inner world. The laws that govern your life are not imposed from without, but drawn from within. And the moment you dare to believe, not with hope, but with certainty that your imagination is the source of all creation, the universe bows in obedience. The circumstances begin to rearrange themselves to reflect your new conception of self. This isn't new. You've done it before without knowing. You feared things and they arrived. You've anticipated joy and it bloomed. You've declared failure in moments of weakness and saw it come. But now you are being called to do it consciously. Not as a victim of unconscious thought, but as a deliberate creator of experience. The universe has been waiting for you to see this. Feel what you desire as if it already is. Don't try to make it happen. Assume that it has happened. Live from the state of the wish fulfilled. Walk, speak, breathe as the one who already is what they long to be. This is not pretending. This is the divine act of creation. This is aligning yourself with the eternal law. What you accept as true in imagination will harden into fact. The universe is not testing you. It is not withholding anything. It only reflects what you dare to claim as yours. It waits, not to give, but to mirror. It has been still, waiting for you to see that you are not apart from it, but one with it. The moment you say, I am, you set the process in motion. That is the creative word. That is the key to the kingdom. And so now you are here, not to learn something new, but to remember. To recall the power that shaped galaxies and yet resides silently in the depths of your soul. The universe is not distant, it is not deaf, it is attentive, and it has been leaning in all along, waiting for you to open your eyes, not the eyes in your head, but the eyes of awareness, to see what has been true all along. Everything you experience in this world, every relationship, event, and circumstance is a direct reflection of your inner state. There is no external force acting upon you with randomness or cruelty. What you see outside is what has been accepted, nurtured, and believed on the inside. The world is not happening to you. It is responding to you. It does not speak first, it echoes. It mirrors the convictions you hold, the assumptions you entertain, and the identities you silently adopt. The outer world is not cause, it is effect. If you believe that life is hard, you will meet difficulty at every turn. If you assume people are unkind, you will constantly encounter coldness and rejection. If you quietly believe you are unworthy of love, the world will confirm your belief through absence, indifference, or heartbreak. This is not punishment, it is law. It is the precise outworking of your own consciousness, but a reality outside of consciousness. Consciousness is the one and only reality. The images you observe around you, the people, the money, the opportunities, the failures, the blessings, they are shadows cast by the light of your awareness. Change the awareness and the shadows must also change. Try to manipulate the shadows without altering the light, and nothing will ever truly shift. You may rearrange the furniture of your life, but the structure remains unchanged because the blueprint, your belief, has not been revised. This is not philosophy. It is spiritual law. The inner and the outer are not separate realms. They are one process. The seed of belief blossoms into the tree of experience. You may think you are reacting to life, but in truth, life is reacting to you. Your thoughts are not idle, they are generative. The mood you carry, the assumptions you repeat quietly to yourself, the roles you habitually play in the theater of your imagination, these are the architects of your reality. And this is where your power lies, not in controlling others or forcing events, but in becoming deeply aware of the thoughts you dwell upon. If you dwell in fear, fear becomes flesh. If you dwell in abundance, abundance comes seeking you. You may speak words of hope, but if your inner talk is filled with doubt and resignation, your world will listen only to that unspoken conversation. The universe is fluent in the language of feeling, not pretense. It reflects what you truly believe, not what you wish were true. To begin transforming your life, you must first observe yourself honestly. What are you constantly thinking about? How do you feel about yourself when no one is watching? What do you expect when you enter a new situation? Do you walk with the assumption that you are wanted, respected, loved? Or do you carry the quiet belief that you must prove your worth at every turn? The answers to these questions do not stay inside you. They shape the fabric of your experience. They determine who calls you, what doors open, what stays stuck, and what moves forward. The reason change often feels difficult is because people try to change the outer without shifting the inner. They struggle against people, against money, against time, all the while carrying an unchanged inner atmosphere. But once the inner man is changed, the outer must follow, because they are not truly separate. You do not need to wait for better circumstances. You do not need to beg life to be kinder. You simply need to turn within and revise the story you are telling yourself every day. The story of who you are, the story of what you deserve, the story of what is possible. When you accept a new assumption, you give the universe new instructions. And these instructions do not come through effort, but through acceptance. The world reshapes itself around the version of yourself that you dare to embody. If you assume you are now wealthy and you persist in that inner state, regardless of your current bank account, the world must by law reflect the state of wealth. This is not about wishful thinking or blind optimism. It is about aligning with the truth that what you feel to be true consistently and persistently must eventually take shape. Most people live reactively. They look around, interpret their surroundings, and form beliefs based on what they see. But this is the backward way. The awakened individual sees that perception does not follow reality. Reality follows perception. What you believe before you see is what determines what you see. If you say, "I'll believe it when I see it," you will always be chasing evidence. But if you instead say, "I will see it because I believe it," then you become the cause rather than the effect. Everything begins in the invisible realm of imagination. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the technology in your hand. Each began first as an idea, a mental image, an unseen blueprint. And just as the architect sees the finished structure before the first brick is laid, you too must learn to see with inner vision before outer results appear. The moment you accept a new state inwardly, it begins its journey toward outward manifestation. The delay you experience is only the result of your own doubt or contradictory thoughts. But hold the vision steady, and it must come. You may ask why this law is not taught openly, why the world seems unaware. It is because most are still asleep. They do not realize the creative power of their thoughts. They see misfortune and assume fate. They experience lack and assume punishment. But when one awakens, even briefly, to the truth that their world is an image cast by their inner state, everything begins to shift. Responsibility returns, power returns, freedom returns. You are not at the mercy of what has been. The past does not define the future unless you carry it forward in your consciousness. Let go of the old identity, and the world will let go of it too. Stop rehearsing the narrative of failure, betrayal, limitation, and the stage will clear itself. Begin to speak from the version of yourself that already has what you desire, and life will adjust accordingly. You are not waiting for the world to change. The world is waiting for you to change the lens through which you see it. What you see is not truth. It is reflection. When you finally understand this, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what within me is being reflected by this? You no longer feel like a leaf blowing in the wind, but a force rooted in divine certainty. You do not chase signs, you become the sign. You do not wait for life to give you permission, you claim it within. And from that inner claiming, all things flow. The outer world has no choice but to comply. It cannot help but mirror back the contents of your soul. Imagination is not a fleeting daydream or an idle pastime. It is the core of creation itself. It is the invisible workshop where all things are first shaped before they enter the world of form. Everything you see around you, every building, every invention, every masterpiece, was first conceived in someone's mind. It did not begin with labor or material. It began with an image, a vision, a felt reality held within. Imagination is not a weak substitute for action. It is the source from which all action springs. It is the womb of reality, and when you learn to use it consciously, you step into the very act of divine creation. What you imagine with feeling, what you accept as true in the silence of your inner world, begins to take on substance. It begins to move through unseen currents, drawing to itself the people, events, and circumstances that match its vibration. You may think you are only imagining, but your imagination is not confined to your skull. It is a spiritual force, reaching beyond what you see, rearranging the structure of your reality to match what you believe to be real. And so, the question is not whether you are using your imagination, because you always are. The question is whether you are using it knowingly, deliberately, and with purpose. Most people imagine unconsciously. They dwell in fear, they rehearse loss, they anticipate disappointment. And so their world conforms to these inner images, not because fate is cruel, but because the law is exact. The outer world reflects the inner picture. The imagination is always at work, but unless it is directed by faith and intention, it will simply replay old patterns and past assumptions. To imagine in fear is to plant seeds of fear. To imagine in faith is to plant seeds of transformation. There is no limit to what imagination can do. It is not bound by the rules of the physical world. It does not need time, space, or logic to operate. In imagination, you can be anywhere, become anything, possess what you desire, and experience the fulfillment of your wish. And what you do in imagination, if persisted in, must solidify into form. This is not fiction or fantasy. It is the very mechanism by which all things come into being. Every invention, every movement of progress, every miracle begins in the unseen realm of imagination. To imagine is to choose. It is to say, this is the version of reality I accept. When you imagine something with feeling, you are selecting from the infinite possibilities available to you. You are moving yourself into a new state of being, and once you occupy that state, life begins to mirror it. It may not happen instantly, but it must happen. The delay is not denial, it is gestation. Just as a seed takes time to grow into a tree, your imagined state takes time to harden into fact. But if you persist, if you do not waver, if you remain loyal to the unseen reality, it will appear. It must appear. This is not about force. It is about acceptance. You do not make it happen by effort. You make it happen by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Walk in it. Live in it inwardly, and the outer world will conform. This is the great secret. What you feel as true inwardly is more powerful than anything you observe outwardly. The outer world may contradict your desire. It may show you the opposite of what you long for. But if you remain unmoved, if you continue to dwell in the feeling that your desire is already yours, you will bring it into being. You are not waiting for circumstances to change. You are changing your inner state, and circumstances will follow. Imagination is the master key. It bypasses all limitations. It does not need to consult the facts. It creates facts. If you are broke, you do not need to wait for money to appear before feeling wealthy. You must feel wealthy first in imagination, and that inner wealth will attract its outer counterpart. If you are alone, you do not wait to be loved. You assume that you are already loved, already chosen, already embraced, and the world begins to echo that inner song. Imagination responds to belief. It is shaped by what you accept as possible. If you believe you are limited, your imagination will produce only small results. But if you expand your belief, if you open yourself to the infinite, imagination becomes a limitless tool. You begin to walk through life not as a beggar, hoping things will work out, but as a creator, knowing that everything you need is already within you. You are no longer impressed by appearances. You are impressed only by the inner vision you hold. The secret is to become emotionally involved with the image in your mind. Do not simply think about your desire. Enter into it. Touch it with your inner senses. Smell the air of your success. Hear the words of congratulations. Feel the texture of the life you wish to live. The more vivid the inner experience, the faster it will express in form. The imagination must not be mechanical. It must be alive. It must be drenched in emotion, in faith, in expectancy. That is how you move from thinking about your desire to living from it. You are the only one who can imagine for you. No one else can do it. No one else can feel it for you. And no one else is responsible for what you create in consciousness. The power is in your hands, not in the hands of the government or your past or your parents or society. It is within you. And this is the great truth that so many overlook. They look outside for permission, for validation, for change. But the change begins within. And imagination is the first step. The world will resist at first. It will try to convince you that nothing is happening. But keep going, keep imagining, keep returning to the feeling of fulfillment. Every time you do, you plant a seed in the soil of your soul. And these seeds, watered by belief and persistence, will grow. Life must mirror the image you hold most consistently. It is not a matter of luck. It is law. So use this gift. Use it with reverence. Use it with boldness. Enter your inner world with clarity and conviction, knowing that what you do in secret will be shouted from the rooftops of your life. You are not powerless. You are not at the mercy of chance. You hold within yourself the brush, the palette, and the canvas. Paint wisely, imagine generously, and do it all with the quiet knowing that the world will follow. The moment you assume something to be true, it begins to shape the world around you, whether or not the facts currently agree. Assumption is not wishful thinking. It is the bold act of inner conviction. It is the choice to dwell in a state of being, regardless of appearances. When you assume a thing, you are no longer begging life to give it to you. You are claiming it inwardly, living from it mentally, and moving as though it already exists. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. The outer world is but a mirror, a shadow, a reflection of what you accept as true on the inside. Therefore, if you want to change your life, you must first change what you assume to be real. Assumption is the seed of all manifestation. It is the invisible blueprint from which reality is constructed. What you assume determines what you notice, how you behave, what you attract, and ultimately what you experience. Most people are not aware that their assumptions are running the show. They think they are simply reacting to life, not realizing they are actually perpetuating a cycle that begins within them. An assumption held persistently becomes a belief, and a belief repeated enough times becomes reality. You do not experience life as it is, you experience life as you assume it to be. When you assume something, you are giving it permission to exist in your world. You are stepping into a new version of yourself and saying, "This is who I am now." That simple act of inner acceptance opens doors, reveals paths, and awakens possibilities that would have otherwise remained dormant. The key is to assume with feeling. Cold thoughts do not create. It is the union of thought and feeling that gives life to your desires. You must feel the assumption to be real. You must move in imagination as though it were already accomplished. It may seem unnatural at first, especially if your current reality screams the opposite. But your senses are not the final authority. Your imagination is. The outer world is slow to catch up because it moves through time, but assumption lives outside of time. It exists in the now, and when you assume correctly, the outer world begins to bend, shift, and rearrange itself to match the new vibration you are dwelling in. It will feel as though the world is responding to you in ways you cannot logically explain. And it is. You have already experienced this, whether you were aware of it or not. Think back to times when you expected the worst, and somehow everything fell apart exactly as you feared. Or times when you walked into a situation with confidence and doors seemed to open effortlessly. These were not coincidences. They were reflections of your dominant assumptions. The world cannot help but echo what you most consistently believe to be true. It is a law so precise that once you grasp it, you stop looking for signs and start creating them. To assume something is not to force it, but to receive it. You do not strain or beg or hope. You simply enter the inner state where it is already done. You imagine how you would feel if it were true, and you allow yourself to dwell in that feeling day after day, not just in moments of meditation, but throughout your daily life. You carry the assumption like a new identity. You speak differently, you walk differently, you react differently. And in time, the world begins to reflect this new version of you. Many people try to manifest by working hard on the outside while still assuming lack on the inside. This creates struggle. The results are inconsistent or non-existent because the inner world and outer action are not aligned. True creation begins with being. You must be the person who has the thing you desire before it appears. That beingness begins with assumption. Assume you are already the one who is chosen, the one who is successful, the one who is loved, and everything else must follow. You may ask, but what if I assume and nothing changes? The truth is, something always changes the moment you assume. It may not be visible immediately, but the shift has already occurred in consciousness. Just as a seed takes time to grow beneath the surface before you see the sprout, your assumption takes time to harden into fact. The delay is not failure, it is proof that the process is working according to divine order. Your role is to persist in the assumption, not to question it every day. The more you return to it, the more power it gathers. Assumption is also protection. When you assume the best, you are not denying the existence of hardship, you are denying its power over you. You are choosing to dwell in a higher state, a state where you are already secure, already guided, already whole. This state becomes your shield and your compass. You begin to make decisions from peace, not panic. You begin to respond to challenges with wisdom, not worry. The assumption becomes your new home, and from that home, you build a new life. It is important to realize that you are always assuming something. The question is whether your assumptions are empowering or limiting. Are you assuming that things never work out for you? That people will disappoint you? That money is hard to come by? These assumptions may feel normal because they've been with you for so long. But normal is not the same as natural. What is natural to you now may be nothing more than an inherited pattern. You have the power to rewrite it by choosing a new assumption, one that serves you, one that frees you. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are creating. Pretending is hollow. Assumption is alive. Pretending says, This isn't real, but I'll play along. Assumption says, this is real, and I accept it now. The difference is subtle but powerful. Assumption does not require proof because it is the cause, not the effect. It does not ask for confirmation from the outside. It confirms itself on the inside, and eventually, the world must catch up. This is why discipline of the mind is so important, not in the harsh sense, but in the sense of being faithful to your chosen state. You must refuse to let doubt or fear pull you back into the old self. You must gently bring your awareness back to the assumption you've chosen, again and again, until it becomes automatic. Eventually, it will no longer feel like effort, it will feel like truth. And when it feels like truth, it becomes your reality. Every time you choose to assume something beautiful, something bold, something expansive, you are stepping into a new timeline, one where you are not defined by your past, but by your vision, one where you do not wait for the world to show you what's possible. You show the world what is possible through the power of your assumption. You are not here to react to reality. You are here to assume it into being. You are here to walk by inner vision, not outer evidence. Everything you experience in life is a mirror of your internal state. The world around you, the people you meet, the circumstances you attract, and even the timing of events are all reflections of the thoughts you predominantly entertain, the feelings you habitually dwell in, and the identity you assume to be true. Nothing ever happens out there without first taking root in here. When you look at your life, you are looking into a mirror that reveals the contents of your consciousness. This is not symbolic, it is literal. Your outer world is not a cause, it is an effect. The cause is always within you. When you grasp this, life becomes far less mysterious and far more empowering. No longer are you tossed about by circumstances as if they have power over you. You begin to see clearly that circumstances are obedient servants, not masters. They arise to reflect the state you persist in. If you carry a sense of unworthiness within, you will meet people and situations that seem to confirm it. If you nurture a feeling of abundance and wholeness, you will encounter experiences that validate those inner realities. The law is perfect in its expression. It does not judge, it does not moralize, it does not decide what is good or bad for you. It simply mirrors back what you assume to be true. This is why inner work is not optional. It is the very essence of creation. If you want to change your life, you must first change your self-concept. You must shift the inner story, the habitual emotions, and the mental images you entertain. Trying to change the outer world while leaving the inner world untouched is like rearranging the mirror instead of changing your face. It is futile. It creates temporary shifts, if any, and leaves you exhausted. The real work is done in consciousness. You cannot cheat this mirror. You may try to act confident, speak positively, or affirm abundance, but if deep down you still identify as lacking, fearful, or unworthy, the world will reflect that hidden identity more faithfully than your words. This is why authenticity in your inner state matters more than outward performance. The mirror responds to who you are being, not what you are doing. If you want to see new reflections, you must be willing to become someone new from the inside out. This does not mean forcing change, it means allowing it. It means recognizing that your current reality is simply a result of previous assumptions and that you are free at any moment to assume something new. You are not bound by the past unless you continue to believe in it. You are not a prisoner of your circumstances unless you identify with them. The mirror changes the moment you change. It does not resist you. It simply waits for you to show it a new face. This truth invites radical self-responsibility, not blame, but power. When you realize that you are the cause, you stop pointing fingers. You stop waiting for others to change. You stop blaming fate or timing or luck. Instead, you go within and ask, what must I be assuming to make this appear in my life? And more importantly, what do I now choose to assume instead? This shift from victimhood to creative responsibility is not always easy, but it is the doorway to freedom. Because once you accept that the mirror reflects your inner world, you also realize that you hold the key to transformation. Every time you react to something negatively, you are not responding to reality. You are responding to your belief about reality. The person who hurt you, the bill that showed up, the job that fell through, all of these are neutral until you assign them meaning. And the meaning you assign reveals your inner state. If you assume the world is hostile, you will interpret events in a way that confirms that. If you assume the world supports you, you will find evidence of that instead. The outer mirror faithfully magnifies the inner belief. This is why your state of being matters more than your strategy. It's not about how hard you work or how much you plan. It's about what you expect, what you feel, and what you identify with. Two people can take the exact same action and receive vastly different outcomes, not because of luck or chance, but because of the state from which the action was taken. When you act from a state of lack, your efforts are tinged with desperation. When you act from a state of fulfillment, your actions carry the energy of ease, confidence, and inevitability. The mirror picks up on this distinction and reflects accordingly. You are not meant to manipulate the mirror. You are meant to become aware of what you are reflecting, and then gently, deliberately shift it from within. If you want to see love, become love internally. If you want to see success, assume success as your identity. If you want to experience freedom, feel free now, not someday. The mirror does not show you what you want. It shows you what you are. And what you are is a state, a vibration, a consciousness that you have the power to select at any moment. People will appear in your life to reflect your beliefs. Opportunities will come or be delayed based on your state. Even the timing of your desires unfolding is connected to how faithfully you dwell in the feeling of already having them. You are not waiting for the world to catch up. The world is waiting for you to align. The instant you do, it begins to rearrange itself. Not through effort, but through resonance. Not through control, but through alignment. This is how the mirror of life works. Not through force, but through frequency. You may notice that the same types of situations repeat over and over in your life. This is not coincidence, it is feedback. Life is showing you the beliefs you've accepted as normal. Until you change your assumptions, the pattern persists. But the moment you shift the inner premise, the mirror cracks open. New people, new chances, new realities rush in. Not because the world changed, but because the mirror simply caught up. When you understand this, you stop resisting life. You stop fighting circumstances. Instead, you use them as clues. You ask yourself, what part of me is this reflecting? What belief is this showing me? And in that moment of inquiry, you step back into your power. You remember that the outer is not the source of your experience. It is the echo. The real voice is within you. And that voice is yours to change, to choose, to elevate. The mirror does not judge. It does not decide what you deserve. It only reflects. It only repeats what you declare to be true. The mirror responds not to your words, but to your dominant state. Not to your passing thoughts, but to your sustained assumptions. If you would like to see something different, begin with feeling something different. Let your imagination carry you into the scene of your wish fulfilled, and dwell there often. Let your inner conversations reflect love, joy, and confidence. Let your identity rise to meet your desire, not by forcing the outer world, but by relaxing into the truths that your reality is simply a reflection of you. The moment you change your inner perception, the universe responds, not later, not tomorrow, but immediately. Though the outer reflection may take time to crystallize, the shift in energy happens in the unseen realm right away. This is the mystery of consciousness. It does not wait for physical validation to begin creating. It only requires a change in assumption, a shift in feeling, a new alignment of the inner eye. The very instant you begin to feel differently, even subtly, the unseen forces around you begin to move, realign, and draw toward you a world that matches your new vibration. This is not about wishful thinking or blind hope. It is about knowing that reality is not built from the outside in. Reality flows from consciousness. What you hold in mind with feeling, what you entertain in imagination with conviction, becomes the seed from which your future blossoms. The invisible is not less real than the visible, it is more fundamental. Everything you touch, see, hear, and experience was first formed in the invisible realm of thought and feeling. To believe that something must happen outside before you can feel it inside is to reverse the order of reality. When you change your inner world, you become a new magnet. The people you meet begin to respond to you differently. Opportunities you never noticed before seem to appear. Coincidences happen, doors open, time bends. But none of this is magic. It is law. Consciousness is the only cause, and your world faithfully follows the pattern you set within. You may not see the full outcome right away, but you will feel the shift immediately. You will sense the difference. And that feeling is the evidence that the change has already begun. The world has always been waiting for you to see with new eyes, not because the world was broken, but because it was responding to your old lens. You are not here to fix reality, you are here to reveal it. The reality you experience reflects your inner clarity. When your perception shifts from lack to abundance, from fear to love, from doubt to faith, your entire world begins to reconfigure itself to match that higher frequency. It must, for it has no choice. Reality is not random, it is obedient. The universe responds to the feeling of certainty within you. Not hopefulness, not desperation, not longing, but certainty. When you claim something internally as already true, the unseen world begins its work. It rearranges events, inspires action, nudges people, and orchestrates outcomes to reflect that inner certainty. But you must persist in that state, especially when the outer world still appears unchanged. The test is never outside, it is always within. Can you remain faithful to the vision you've created in the silence of your being, even when there is no physical evidence? If so, then you are truly creating. Faith is not pretending. Faith is assuming the reality of your desire so completely that you feel it as done. You may still walk through the same routines, live in the same house, work the same job, but inwardly everything has changed. And that inner change begins to radiate through every facet of your life. People sense something different about you, even if they cannot name it. You carry a new energy, and that energy calls forth a new world. You are not a beggar pleading with life to give you scraps. You are the operant power. You determine what you experience by what you accept as true. And once you accept something inwardly, life has no choice but to reflect it. The outer mirror may take time to catch up, but it will. And in that space between assumption and manifestation, you must walk as if it is already yours. Not to convince the universe, but to remain aligned with the truth you've chosen. This is the essence of transformation. It does not begin with effort, it begins with awareness. The moment you become aware that you have been living under a false belief, a limited identity, a fearful perspective, you are free. Not because the outer has changed, but because your consciousness has expanded beyond the illusion. You are no longer a prisoner of old patterns. You are a creator standing at the threshold of infinite possibility. It may seem subtle, but this shift is monumental. To move from "I hope this happens" to "it is done" is not just a change in words. It is a change in being, and being is the source of all creation. The universe does not hear what you say. It responds to who you are. And who you are is a state of consciousness you have chosen to occupy. The more fully you dwell in your chosen state, the more quickly life molds itself around it. There is no gap between you and your desire except the gap you create with doubt. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It is simply waiting for you to match the frequency of that which you seek. And the moment you do, truly, deeply, consistently, everything begins to change. It may come through channels you didn't expect. It may unfold in ways your logical mind cannot predict. But it will come, because it must. Consciousness outpictures itself without fail. You are not here to earn blessings through suffering or struggle. You are here to realize them through alignment. When you shift within, when you assume the state of your fulfilled desire and rest in its feeling, you unlock the flow of life itself. You do not chase your good, you attract it. You do not force manifestation, You allow it. The outer world bends to the clarity of your inner vision. Every time you return to the state of already having, you draw the invisible closer. Every time you feel as if it is done, you bring it into form. It may appear quietly at first, a gentle confirmation, a whispered sign, a subtle change in direction, but do not mistake quietness for insignificance. The seed does not erupt into a tree overnight, but the moment it is planted, its life begins. And once planted in the fertile soil of belief and feeling, nothing can stop it from growing. This is the sacred dance between imagination and manifestation. You imagine not to escape reality, but to shape it. You feel not to manipulate outcomes, but to align with them. You persist not to impress the universe, but to remain true to the reality you have claimed as yours. The moment you feel the shift within, reality begins its movement without. The echo follows the voice. The reflection follows, and the universe in its infinite perfection begins to show you what you have dared to believe. There is a quiet knowing that lives deeper than the noise of doubt. Beneath your fears, your impatience, and the questioning voice of your rational mind, there is a current that whispers, "It's already yours." But to hear it, you must silence the outer world and awaken to the truth that your desire is not somewhere far away. It is already seeded within you, waiting for your acceptance. You do not need to chase what belongs to you. The law of creation is not a pursuit, it is a recognition. If you can imagine it and feel the weight of its reality within, then it exists already in the unseen. The only distance between you and your desire is your decision to believe that it is on its way. Not maybe, not someday, but surely, certainly, and without fail in its divine time. The mind often demands proof. It wants to see before it believes. But the soul works in reverse. It believes first, and then it sees. If you are to receive what you've asked for, you must live as though it is already making its way toward you. That is the sacred act of faith, to hold the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to carry yourself not as someone hoping, but someone knowing. To walk not as a beggar of blessings, but as the rightful heir of all you've imagined. The universe does not respond to desperation. It does not yield to begging or pleading. It responds to alignment. And alignment is when your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions all move in the same direction. When you no longer contradict your desires with fear, when you no longer cancel your prayers with worry. Trusting the universe's timing means you understand that delay is not denial, and silence is not absence. Sometimes, the universe is not saying no. It is saying not yet. Because what you asked for is still being shaped into something better than you imagined. So what does it mean to act as if? It means to sit in the house you haven't moved into yet and feel at home. It means to speak from the success that hasn't shown up yet, but is already yours in spirit. It means to thank the universe before the door opens, knowing that your gratitude is the key. It means to live in the state of the answered prayer, even if the evidence has not yet surfaced in your physical world. You must become the version of yourself who already has it. What would you do differently? How would you carry yourself? How would you speak, love, and wake up each day? The bridge between the seen and the unseen is built on feeling. And the universe does not give you what you want. It mirrors who you are being. Become it in consciousness, and the world will conform. There is no power in saying, "I hope it comes." The power is in declaring, "It is already mine." Not as a lie, not as a fantasy, but as a truth you have chosen to accept. One that the outer world has not yet caught up to. You are not waiting on the universe. The universe is waiting on your belief. When you truly believe, time loses its weight. You stop counting days and start counting blessings. You stop measuring how far you are and begin recognizing how close it's getting. Every time you doubt, you stretch the distance. Every time you believe, you pull it nearer. That is the sacred dance, thought and emotion in union, shaping the unseen into the seen. So if you've asked and you've imagined, then your job is to trust. Not with a half-hearted hope, but with unwavering certainty. Rest in the knowing. Smile as though you've already received. Walk in peace, for the thing you seek is not lost, it's on its way. Not when you cry enough, not when you struggle enough, but when you finally become still and know it is done. If you could allow yourself to feel, truly feel the reality of your desire already being fulfilled, you would be stepping into the very essence of creation itself. This world, as solid and structured as it appears, bends not to action alone, but to the intensity and purity of your inner experience. It is not enough to merely state, I want this, or I hope that. Want is a whisper, and hope is a waving hand, but feeling. Deep, rich, unquestioned feeling is the commandment the universe never ignores. To feel the wish fulfilled is to step out of the illusion of lack and plant your feet in the certainty of possession. It is to dwell mentally and emotionally in a state where your desire is no longer a future event, but a present reality in your inner world. And when you do that, you are no longer waiting for life to give you permission to be joyful, grateful, or at peace. You are giving yourself that permission now because in your imagination, where all things are first born, it has already happened. Imagination is not a game. It is not make-believe. It is a sacred workshop where all manifestations begin. The mistake many make is using their imagination to revisit pain, to rehash what they lack, or to indulge in worry. They replay old scenes, relive failures, or dramatize fears. But that same imagination, if rightly used, can become the holy ground where you rehearse victory, embrace love, and stand face to face with the outcome you long for. The mind does not know the difference between what is vividly imagined and what is real. So when you feel your desire is already fulfilled, the body, the emotions, and the energy around you begin to align with that unseen truth. You don't need the outside world to change first. You need to become the change internally, and the world will follow. When you close your eyes and enter the silence of your being, do not simply say, I will have this one day. That day never comes. Instead, declare within yourself, it is mine now. Let the scene play out in your mind with clarity, but more importantly, let the feeling saturate your soul. If it is love you seek, feel the warmth of being cherished, the security of being chosen. If it is abundance, feel the calm confidence of knowing you are supported, that all your needs are met. If it is healing, feel the vitality coursing through you, as if your body is already being made whole. You are not wishing, you are dwelling. And dwelling in that state long enough will make it hard for the world not to conform to the blueprint you have drawn with your emotion. The reason so many desires go unanswered is not because the universe is cruel or withholding. It is because the individual never dwells in the reality of their answered prayer. They think about it, they worry over it, they question if it's even possible, but all of this is noise. The still, quiet voice that shapes reality responds not to noise, but to knowing. And that knowing is built through repeated feeling. You cannot simply feel it once and forget it. You must return to that state like it is your sanctuary. You must revisit it as though it is the truest part of your life, because in truth it is. Your senses may deceive you. They may tell you nothing has changed. But the feeling of the wish fulfilled is not concerned with appearances. It is concerned only with truth. And truth begins inside. When you allow yourself to really feel it, you are no longer affirming a hope. You are embodying a truth. You become magnetic. Opportunities, people, and moments begin to gravitate toward the energy you're emitting. And they do so not because you demanded them, but because you became their rightful owner. This is the mystery so few are willing to embrace. They would rather work harder, beg louder, and exhaust themselves trying to force outcomes. But those who understand the laws of the unseen know that nothing is more powerful than resting in the feeling of the thing already accomplished. From that rest, from that peace, life responds. What you must grasp is that this feeling is not tied to arrogance. It is not pretending for the sake of pretending. It is spiritual alignment. It is the sacred acknowledgement that everything you desire is already created in the unseen realm, and your feeling is the signal that allows it to pass through into the seen. You are not the creator of the desire, you are the receiver of it. And what you have received in vision, you must now receive in feeling. There is no how in this process, there is no when, there is only now. Every moment you feel as if it is already yours. You are collapsing the time between imagination and manifestation. You are not asking the universe to deliver, it has already delivered. You are asking yourself to believe. And belief is born through feeling. You cannot fake it, but you can nurture it. You can close your eyes and summon it, over and over, until the inner world becomes more real than the outer. And when that shift happens, the world around you bends, quietly, obediently, to the new reality you carry. Your assumption is not a casual thought, it is a creative force. It is not a fleeting opinion or a passing daydream. It is the foundation on which your reality stands. What you assume to be true about yourself, your life, and the world around you becomes the silent instruction to the universe on what to manifest. There is no neutrality in this law. You are always assuming something and life is always listening. The tragedy is not in the lack of dreams, but in the abundance of negative assumptions. So many walk through life believing they are unworthy, unloved, or forgotten. They assume that good things happen to others, not to them. They assume life is a constant battle and that struggle is a sign of virtue. But these assumptions are not just thoughts. They are seeds. And every seed, whether conscious or unconscious, grows into form. You cannot plant the assumption of lack and harvest the fruit of abundance. You cannot assume rejection and be met with unconditional love. Life mirrors what you hold as true. To assume the best is not delusion, it is alignment. When you assume that your desire is already fulfilled, you are aligning your inner world with the end result, the finished picture. You're no longer walking toward it, you are walking from it. This shift in perspective is everything. When you assume the end, you begin to live in the state of completion, not the state of longing. And the state you live in, the emotional and mental atmosphere you inhabit, is what life reflects. If you want to know what you've been assuming, look at your current life. Your finances, your relationships, your health, your opportunities, they are all echoing your dominant beliefs. And beliefs are nothing more than repeated assumptions. You don't need to change the world, you need to change your assumption of the world. That shift alone holds the power to rewire everything. The assumption is not passive. It is an act of faith. It is a bold declaration in the face of contradiction. To assume you are successful when your bank account says otherwise, to assume you are loved when you feel forgotten, to assume you are healed while the pain still lingers. This is the true act of creation. The world calls it foolishness, but the wise know it as power. Because when you assume from the end, you are not moved by what your senses show. You are moved by what your spirit knows. You must discipline yourself to hold to the assumption even when reality mocks it, even when delay tempts you to give up. The assumption must become your resting place, your default setting. You do not return to begging or worrying, you return to assuming. And the assumption must be felt, not just spoken. Words are empty without the emotion that gives them life. If you say, I am abundant, but feel poor, your assumption has not shifted. The change must happen in feeling, in conviction, in embodiment. The mind will protest. It will present evidence to the contrary. It will scream that you are being unrealistic. But remember, the current reality is just the result of your previous assumptions. If you want something new, you must plant something new. And assumptions are not created by accident. They are chosen. You have the power to select the assumption you live by, and once selected, life begins to bend around it. This is not about pretending. It is about declaring truth before it becomes visible, and that truth is not built from what you see, but from what you know within. You assume not because you need proof, but because the feeling of it being done is already yours. You do not wait to feel successful until the world calls you successful. You feel it now, and that feeling becomes the magnetic pull that draws the outer conditions toward you. Assumption carries within it the sacred seed of creation. Whatever you assume, you consent to. You grant it permission to enter your life. That is why fear is so destructive. Not because it's real, but because fear is assumption in disguise. When you fear, you are assuming that harm is on its way, and that assumption, if fed, takes form. So too does the assumption of peace, of joy, of blessing. When you feed the assumption that all is working out for you, the world rearranges itself to confirm it. Your assumptions are the architects of your destiny. They do not merely influence your life, they form it. Each time you assume something new, you lay the blueprint for your future. Hold that blueprint long enough and the structure begins to rise. It may begin as invisible scaffolding, as subtle shifts, but soon the structure becomes real, tangible, and undeniable. You do not need to know how your assumption will come to life. The how is not your business. The assumption itself contains the intelligence to unfold. Like a seed that knows how to grow into a tree, your assumption knows the way. Your task is not to manipulate the conditions, but to maintain the state. Stay in the feeling. Keep returning to the vision. Assume that it is already so, and the path will reveal itself piece by piece. When you assume, you align. When you align, you attract. When you attract, you receive. But it begins with the silent decision to believe. Not because you see it, but because you've chosen to. That choice, the choice to assume the end, is the most powerful move you can make. It tells the universe, I am ready now. Time is one of the greatest illusions humanity wrestles with. It appears so firm, so absolute, and yet it is only the reflection of our inner rhythm, not the ruler of our reality. When you begin to walk the path of manifestation, you will quickly discover that the moment you declare your desire, it is already done in the unseen. What keeps it from appearing in the physical is not the absence of its existence. It is the mind's need to rush what only unfolds through divine order. The universe is never late. It is never confused. It is never in a hurry, but it is always on time. We are conditioned to believe that waiting is a punishment, that if something has not happened yet, it must mean something is wrong. We interpret delay as denial, silence as abandonment. But in truth, the delay is often the very proof that something bigger is being arranged for you. It is not a rejection of your desire, it is a refinement of your readiness. The universe does not operate according to your clock, it operates according to alignment. It is not interested in giving you what you want when you want it. It is committed to giving you what you are truly ready to hold. when your mind, body, and spirit are in agreement with what you've asked for. To trust divine timing is to let go of panic. It is to surrender the need to count the days, to track progress, to obsess over signs. It is to rest in the knowing that what you have already claimed in your imagination is on its way to you, and nothing can stop it. It may arrive through channels you never expected, through people you never knew existed, or through circumstances that seem impossible. But that is not your concern. Your concern is to remain rooted in the feeling of having already received. When you constantly check for results, you're sending a message to the universe that you're unsure. You're saying, I don't trust that it's coming, so I need proof. But the universe responds to faith, not fear. When you truly trust, you release. You don't water the seed and then dig it up every morning to see if it's growing. You protect it, nurture it, and trust the unseen process beneath the soil. So it is with your desire. Once planted through assumption and feeling, it must be allowed to grow without interference. There is a timing that your ego cannot understand. It sees a delay as failure, as lost time. But your higher self sees what your eyes cannot. It knows that some delays are actually blessings in disguise, a divine rearrangement taking place behind the scenes. Sometimes the universe is not holding your desire from you, it is holding you for your desire, preparing your mind, shaping your spirit, softening your heart, so that when the moment arrives, you don't just receive the blessing, you become someone who can keep it. You must stop measuring your progress by the clock. Time is not your enemy, it is your servant. What you think is taking too long may be arriving exactly on schedule. And sometimes things don't manifest immediately, not because they are far away, but because you are being asked to expand your capacity to believe. You are being invited to deepen your trust, to anchor yourself in the unseen, to walk by faith, not by sight. The most powerful manifestations often require the most patience, not because the universe is slow, but because the magnitude of what is coming needs space to unfold. You don't build a cathedral in a day, and you don't birth a new reality without transformation. The waiting period is not empty, it is sacred. It is where your faith is forged, your vision sharpened, your energy aligned. There are things working for you right now that you cannot see. People who are being moved, situations that are shifting, energies that are aligning, all in response to your inner state. And just because you cannot track the progress doesn't mean progress is not happening. The universe is not linear, it is quantum. What feels delayed can appear overnight. What seems stagnant can break open in a moment. The question is not whether it will come. The question is whether you will remain faithful in the space between desire and manifestation. This space, this embodiment, is the testing ground. Will you choose peace or panic? Will you feed doubt or feed faith? Will you hold the vision or abandon it for a more realistic one? Your answers determine the outcome. When you trust the timing, you stop striving, you stop forcing, you stop begging for signs, you begin to embody, you begin to live from the end. You begin to act like the person who already has what they asked for. And from that space, time collapses. Delays dissolve. And what once felt far away arrives with effortless grace. When you surrender your timeline, you receive the universe's. And the universe's timeline is perfect. It's not about one day. It's about the alignment of this day. The moment your inner world becomes the match for your desire, that's the moment it begins to unfold in your outer world. Whether it takes hours or years is irrelevant. Because once you understand this law, time no longer controls you. You live above it, You exist in the space of knowing. There is no such thing as waiting in lack when you are dwelling in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. In that state, you are not waiting, you are preparing. You are not lacking, you are aligning. Every moment spent in faith is a step closer to the manifestation, whether you can see it or not. And when it arrives, you will not be surprised. You will not call it luck. You will recognize it as the inevitable result of your inner state. Because you didn't wait passively, you walked in trust. You didn't watch the clock, you watched your thoughts. And in doing so, you became the evidence of perfect timing. To live in alignment is to become the living embodiment of your desire. It is to shed the skin of doubt, fear, and need, and to walk in the world as if what you've asked for is not just coming, but already present, already real, already yours. Alignment is not merely thinking positively or speaking affirmations. It is the internal agreement between your thoughts, your emotions, and your action. When all three are unified and move as one, you become an irresistible force to which the universe must respond. Most people live in contradiction. They say they want love, but feel unworthy of receiving it. They desire abundance, but constantly worry about money. They speak of success, yet act out of fear of failure. These contradictions split their energy, confuse their vibration, and delay the very blessings they seek. You cannot claim to believe in your dream while simultaneously living as if it's not possible. Every act of doubt is a vote against your own destiny. Every moment spent in worry is a silent declaration that you don't trust what's coming. And the universe, ever responsive, mirrors that conflicted state back to you. To live in alignment is to remove those contradictions. It is to make your inner world so unified, so consistent, that there is no space left for uncertainty. It is when you speak like the person who already has it, feel like the person who already enjoys it, and act like the person who is living it right now. It's not pretending, it's remembering. It's calling your future self into the present moment and letting that version of you take the lead. You must ask yourself honestly, are my thoughts supporting my desire or sabotaging it? Are my emotions matching the outcome I want or resisting it? Are my daily actions aligned with faith or driven by fear? These questions are not to shame you, they are to awaken you. Because alignment is a choice. It is the daily decision to embody your desire even when the world shows you no evidence. You are not here to react to the world. You are here to instruct it. But instruction does not come through desperate effort or anxious hustle. It comes through vibrational agreement. When your energy says, I already have it, the universe complies. But when your energy says, I hope it comes, but I'm afraid it won't, the universe pauses. It waits for clarity. It waits for harmony. It waits for you to become still enough to resonate fully with what you ask for. Living in alignment means no longer living from a place of lack. Lack says, I don't have it yet, so I must strive harder. Alignment says, it is already mine, so I will live in gratitude and trust. Lack panics. Alignment rests. Lack doubts. Alignment knows. The more you identify with what is missing, the more you delay its arrival. But the more you identify with the version of you who already has it, the faster it moves into form. Because creation is not about pursuit. It is about resonance. Every time you wake up and choose to carry the emotion of your fulfilled desire, you are aligning. Every time you speak with confidence, walk with intention, and treat yourself with the respect your vision requires, you are aligning. And every time you refuse to be swayed by the outer world and instead return to the inner vision, you are deepening that alignment. But alignment is not a one-time event. It is not a switch you flip and forget. It is a daily devotion, a sacred discipline, It is catching yourself when old patterns try to re-enter. It is noticing when fear whispers in your ear and choosing to silence it with truth. It is building a new emotional home, one that feels like the reality you desire to live. And the more time you spend in that home, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, the outer world begins to reflect what has long been true within. You must understand, living in alignment does not mean your life will be free from challenges, but it does mean you will meet those challenges with a different spirit. You won't crumble under pressure. You will stand in the confidence of what you've already received in your spirit. You won't let temporary setbacks shake your belief. You will use them as stepping stones to strengthen your vibration, because alignment is not the absence of hardship. It is the unwavering presence of inner truth, even in the face of contradiction. There may be moments where everything in the world tells you to give up, where delays tempt you to settle, and circumstances urge you to doubt. But in those moments, alignment becomes your anchor. You return to the feeling, the vision, the inner knowing. And you remind yourself, I do not live by appearances. I live by the truth I have chosen within. That truth is not a fantasy, it is a frequency. And that frequency is what shapes reality. When you live in alignment, the world begins to treat you differently. People respond to the energy you emit. Opportunities seem to find you effortlessly. Doors open not because you forced them, but because you became the one who belongs on the other side. You stop begging for permission to receive. You start walking as though it's already done. And that shift, that quiet, powerful shift, changes everything. Alignment is the invisible agreement between your soul and the universe. It is saying, I trust what I cannot yet see because I have already seen it within. And from that place of trust, the universe meets you, not halfway, but all the way. Because you didn't chase the dream, you became it. You didn't wait for the world to change. You changed your state and the world followed. The world you see around you is not separate from you. It is not a random sequence of events or a neutral background in which your life unfolds. It is a mirror, a direct reflection of your inner world, polished by the thoughts you think, the beliefs you hold, and most importantly, the state you consistently dwell in. What shows up in your life is not determined by chance or luck, but by the vibration you carry within. If you want to change your life, you must begin not with the external conditions, but with the internal atmosphere of your mind. And so, people often ask why their lives continue to show them the same struggles, the same lack, the same painful patterns. They chase solutions outside of themselves, new jobs, new relationships, new opportunities, hoping that a change in scenery will bring a change in experience. But wherever you go, you bring yourself. And if the inner world remains unchanged, the outer world will simply rearrange itself to match it. You may find a new relationship, but it will reflect the same insecurities. You may earn more money, but still feel unworthy or anxious about losing it. Because the external world is not the source of your reality. It is the echo. If your outer life is a reflection of your inner world, then the only real power lies in transforming that inner space, not through force or denial, but through conscious observation and loving discipline. What are you consistently thinking? What stories are you telling yourself? Are you walking through life with the belief that the world is against you, or are you choosing to believe that the universe is constantly conspiring in your favor? Many unknowingly live as victims of their own mental atmosphere. They do not realize that their dominant thoughts are not private. They are creative. Every time you affirm something with emotional conviction, you are handing that blueprint to the universe. And the universe, ever obedient, begins to shape reality accordingly. If you constantly declare that you're unlucky, unsupported, not because that's the truth of who you are, but because that's the truth you've chosen to accept. The universe does not punish or reward, it reflects. It has no bias, no judgment, it simply responds. That's why changing your life begins with changing your assumptions, not by fighting what you don't want, but by consistently choosing the thoughts that match what you do want. You must begin to identify more with your vision than with your current conditions. You must learn to hold the inner state of the desired outcome, even when your senses scream the opposite. The most profound shifts occur when you stop reacting to what is and start responding to what could be. This requires spiritual maturity. It requires choosing your state with intention rather than allowing external events to dictate your mood, your confidence, or your sense of worth. It is easy to feel abundant when money is flowing. It is easy to feel loved when others praise you, but to feel those states before they arise, to cultivate them from within without waiting for the outer world to catch up, is to become the master of your reality. This is why inner work is not optional, it is essential. Meditation, visualization, prayer, self-talk, and emotional awareness are not just spiritual practices, they are the tools of creation. Every moment you spend aligning your inner world with your highest vision is a moment invested in your transformation. You may not see immediate results, but that does not mean nothing is happening. The seed planted in the soil does not sprout overnight, but in the silence and darkness beneath the surface, life is being born. You must become deeply aware of the atmosphere you carry within you. Are you walking with the spirit of lack, even as you ask for abundance? Are you holding resentment while praying for peace? Are you doubting yourself while trying to manifest success? These inner contradictions are not harmless. They are powerful signals sent out into the universe, and the universe reflects them back without fail. When you clean the mirror, when you bring your inner world into harmony with your desire, the reflection changes. This is not about toxic positivity. It is not about pretending that pain doesn't exist or denying the reality of struggle. It is about choosing not to make your pain your home. It's about acknowledging your challenges without turning them into permanent identities. The moment you say, "This is just how I am," or "This is just how life works," you are etching that belief into your vibration, and your life, like a loyal servant, conforms to that declaration. But you can choose a new story. You can begin to tell yourself not what has always been, but what can now be. You can speak to yourself in the language of possibility, not limitation. You can begin to treat your inner world as sacred, as powerful, as the true source of every miracle, because it is. When you shift your inner world, the outer world must follow. It has no choice. It is a law, not a theory. You cannot hold the vibration of peace and continue to attract chaos. You cannot dwell in worthiness and keep attracting rejection. You cannot live in the frequency of love and continue to be met with indifference. Life does not ignore what you feel consistently, it replicates it. You don't have to fix the outer world. You don't have to beg for change or wait for permission. You only have to align the mirror. And to do that, you must become deeply, consciously responsible for the state you dwell in day after day. Your joy, your abundance, your peace, they all begin with what you carry inside. And when your inner world becomes the match for what you desire, the universe in its perfect precision reflects it back to you in ways more beautiful than you could have imagined.